I'm gonna get like a bunch of like children's books as my background instead of like actual books.
I think I'm just gonna have Legos scattered everywhere. I'm going back to Legos and crayons, baby.
Oh shit, we're live. Shh.
Welcome everyone to another episode of SEO Fight Club. Let me go check YouTube and let me say hello in the chat. Let's see. There we go. And I'll pop out the chat. So Lee, you just started a brand new training season. How's it going? How was episode 1?
Yeah, it's always good, because we have a mix of people who've done it before. About 2/3 of the people in any particular training have done it previously and are just coming back through again. So it's not a wow factor for them, but there's some different stuff this week and in the pre-week, which keeps it interesting. But generally speaking, it's just fun. The SERPs don't change that much. The way that we SEO doesn't change that much. But it's always fun to see people's eyes light up when they start to see things in a little different light.
Nice. How about the group? You kind of alluded last week that you had quite the lineup. Is it a spicy group?
They're a fun little group. They're all imagine having a room full of JPs. They're all just high energy and
So it's like super smart and good looking. Got it.
Yeah, the sexiest of all SEO.
That's right.
But yeah, it's a good group. I think as we get going, get to know each other a little bit better, it's gonna turn into quite the little fun house.
Yeah, I am planning to participate this go around. I'm off to a little bit of a late start because I've had so many support stuff to pop onto the front burner, so everything keeps going back burner. But I'm going to do a new website, kind of like I did in season 2. And I'm going to use Madge's PR service on it. And so I'm going to compare my minimum viable SEO from season 2 to my minimum viable SEO using Magic PR. And so I've updated the graphic. I went this morning and made sure we had the latest pricing and distribution checkboxes from the website. So that should all be accurate now. Yes. What do you think, Madge? Did I get the right image up this time?
You're on point, my friend. On point.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. And so, yeah, I'm going to compare my previous minimum viable SEO to a current minimum viable SEO and see what I can do. So my first, putting my toe in the water with press release testing. What do you think about it, Lee?
I like it. Honestly, I think you should probably do 2 websites and test them side by side. But that's just me. I like more data to less data.
Well, I figure if you do a new website and use your service, then we got that. So that's half the work for me.
Here's the thing. My new website starts out as crappy so I can demonstrate the changes over time. Yours isn't.
Are you kidding? My website starts out as non-existent. That's below crappy.
Well, it starts out as non-existent. I'm putting up crappy content today. So.
Well, I'm putting up crappy content today too. That's a challenge, good sir.
I accept, sir.
God, I love this show.
Like you and Madge behind the woodshed, sir.
Yeah, we both know that crappy content practically ranks easier than good content.
But I like to say the PR won't be crappy. The PR will be on par.
No, the PRs will be quality. But the thing is, when we do scientific testing,
yeah,
The crazy thing is we have to minimize all of our variables, and so one of the things we want to minimize is there some magical quality to the content that's throwing the results. So
Right.
oftentimes, the things we'll do in testing will be pure gibberish.
Hmm.
And we've actually even seen it in the past where testers would roll random content and they'd accidentally randomly roll a word like sex onto a test page. And just the presence of a word like that can throw the whole test.
Yeah.
And because it ends up being a real term, it gets traffic, that's a validation signal, and now it's treated different than all your other test cases. And so yeah, we have to be careful. But this new area that we're in, where we're testing how efficiently can we rank a page. It's interesting. Part of efficiently is how fast can we do it, and kind of the ranking barrier for a keyword that requires some amount of off-page SEO. That's the one we're primarily looking at. That's a 3-week barrier, and we're all wondering, can we beat 3 weeks from non-existent to number one on Google? And so that's kind of the state of the art in SEO, is how efficiently and how quickly can we do it. The other part of like SEO efficiency is, let's say you're page one, you're not number one, but you're side by side with a competitor. So, we're number 6 and our competitor beat us. Oh, how bad. They're number 5, but they beat us. The question becomes, since we're neighbors, 5 and 6, who got there more efficiently? So, if they're number 5 with 2,500 referring domains and I'm number 6 with 80, who has the better on-page strategy? And so we start looking at that efficiency too, combined with how fast can we make things move. And now we're learning things. Now this is a fun game. And so I encourage people to join this game. Anyone can play. If you're a Cora user, I'm doing it with phases 1 through 4. I'm kind of ignoring the rest. I do phases 1 through 4, and that's kind of my path. So there's no super secret to playing this game. You just go with the fundamentals and push them hard, and boom. So Lee, when do you think you're gonna take your stab at trying to beat the 3-week wall, I guess?
It might be fun to I'll talk with you off air and see what keyword you're going after, and maybe we just fire the starting pistol with 2 strategies on different, on the same day, and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. I can show you what I'm going for. I haven't even looked at the stats at it. I feel that it's a low to mid competition keyword. Real keyword, real traffic, gonna take some off page to rank,
Yeah.
But I put it in the bulk of, the 80% of things that clients typically ask us to rank for. So it's like that category of thing, but it's by no means payday loans.
Are you guys doing local or organic for this challenge?
Doing organic, doing a national term.
Okay.
And we just kind of, we want to figure out these things, and eventually we're going to have to up our game. Eventually the goal is to understand how to break into very difficult keywords, and I'd say Lee is probably at the forefront of that research. So like a lot of what I do is in the broad 80% that we deal with every day. I think a lot of what Lee is teaching and the research that he's doing is going after like the top 40% of hardest ones. And so that's ultimately where we need to get to is, how do you rank efficiently for a very hard keyword to break into? That's the the holy grail we're after.
Yeah, I need to do some efficiency testing on a couple of theories that I have anyway. So doing a minimum viable, going same with your keyword, and we can learn a couple of different things by doing that.
So sadly, I don't think we have Chris today. I think his alarm didn't go off, so we'll have to rebook him for another week. But we have some other things we can talk about instead. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was fact checking, because apparently Google announced that the integration of Bard and their products can now do fact checking. So you'd check the see it on Google button or whatever that button is, and then it'll show you fact checking on the content it's created, which is interesting because that's AI fact checking itself. And that is an interesting capability. So I went over to ChatGPT and I said, fact check this statement. Birds are a type of fish. Provide a true or not true or uncertain label based on your determination and provide an explanation. And it came back with not true. The statement birds are a type of fish is not true. Birds and fish are distinct groups of animals with different characteristics and evolutionary histories. So now all of a sudden, the software architect in me is like going, wow, I could make a little tool where you could put in a research paper and I would parse it into sentences, and now I could do an AI fact check on each sentence and have it come back with truths and not truths and label the paper. So you kind of have this way of like machine grading a fact-based report. And that's like really interesting. And that you could build today. Now, there are problems with it in that it's still old data, so it wouldn't be able to fact check current news, and it wouldn't be able to fact check things that are mentioned on your website. But, it's interesting that we now have a basis of technology that can start to do that. And so I thought that was a new cool thing that could happen. And there will probably be lots of utilities that do that. What do you think, Lee? What are the problems with fact checking with AI?
Well, as it turns out, Honey started playing around with that concept a couple of months ago with Bard coming out, because Bard, from day one, looked like it was leaning more towards being an answer engine, and so is this true, as a type of Q&A that it can pull out of its knowledge graph. So, we like that. I've thrown content that, ChatGPT, for example, had written, thrown it in there and said, hey, fact check this. And like, this is true, but this may not quite be right because of X, Y, and Z. And it gives you an opportunity, if you care about that, to modify your content. But because it's trained on its knowledge graph, if you ask it SEO questions, it tends to fact check based on very white hat content. So it's fact checking with respect to what actually works and what is reported is very, very different. I can tell you from testing that it doesn't. And one night, Honey was laughing at me because we were watching TV in our bedroom, and I had my laptop open and I got into an argument with Bard. I was asking it about some SEO things. It was coming back with the standard answers. And I was like, are you required by Google to give me this shit? And he goes, no, I can give you whatever. All right, well, then give me the holes in the answer that you just provided. And it went down and listed all of the logical holes in the answer that it provided, which was cool. It had, a little bit of reasoning capability there, a little bit of understanding there. But you have to be careful because, again, it always comes down to the corpus. The facts are whatever it's trained on.
Very true. So what else are you using ChatGPT for in an SEO context currently?
You know, I have used ChatGPT from day one to vomit up some content that then I go and tune, you know, my own ways. There's no process that I've found that that does the job that I wanted to do. And you can do a lot of things that are good, but I think the quality from an SEO standpoint always depends on the training corpus. So most of what I use ChatGPT for is coding. You know, I find little things that I want to do, little, you know, analysis, little plugins, little, you know, all of these things, all the little scripts that do certain things that make my SEO easier, is what I use it for. And it's pretty good at that. You know, it can do advanced macros. It can create little HTML tools that you can utilize to do a variety of things. You know, next I'm going to look at plugin development. There's a plugin that I used to love called Simple Googlebot Visits. And what it did when you were in WordPress was it just told you the last time Googlebot visited, but the plugin is down now. But I always wanted that plugin to come back and do that cleanly. And I wanted the same thing for Bing, as an example. I don't think that those would be extraordinarily difficult to code. So I'm going to, you know, spend some time and see if I can get ChatGPT to code them and, you know, play with it. And then, you know, I have these little tools and things is what the primary use that I have. So it's not a direct SEO thing, but an indirect SEO thing, I guess. What about you? I know you like the massive prompt chains for supplemental content creation.
Yeah, I do a lot of stitching of prompts for little pieces, and I'll stitch all the outputs together into one piece of content. And I've had pretty good luck with that. Like kind of one of the weird sidetracks I've found myself on is I occasionally have customers who have a crisis of faith. And what's common among them is that they're using multiple tools and they're learning from multiple experts, and they're combining everything they're hearing into a single strategy, and it doesn't work out well.
Mm-hmm.
And so in those cases, they don't know who to trust or what to believe, or you know, does SEO even work anymore? And so like their world stops making sense. And so what ends up happening is I try to bring them back into the fold by trying to scientifically test a fundamental. So we'll look at something very, very basic. And so I want to strip away all the tools and all the expert know-how and all the belief systems, and let's just prove a thing. You know, can we do that? Can we prove a thing for ourselves? And so I've been using ChatGPT to help them prove a thing, because we all come with these biases and these assumptions and things of that nature. And when I take away their content, so typically what happens in this is I say, you pick a URL, you pick a keyword on your site, but I write the content. And so what I do is I take their content, I put it in a text file. We keep a backup. We can always undo. But then I'll use ChatGPT to make a very targeted, very optimized piece of content to take its place. And more often than not, I'd say better than 80% of the time, their rankings shoot back to page one, and sometimes even top of page one. And all it is, it's not that like AI text is magical, but it's like I took out the artistry and put in just the philosophy that if you get the word math right, you go up. And so I've been using ChatGPT as the thing to replace magical human beings who have the Midas touch to say we let the machine do it, but we told it to do it in this regard. And when we did that, it shot to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so for eliminating magical human beings with the Midas touch, I think having this machine is amazing. So ChatGPT is awesome because now it's not, oh, Ted wrote the magic content. The machine did it and it went to the top. Because I don't want to be King Midas. That doesn't help anybody. I want people to understand the fundamental that made it go up. And so in that regard, it's an amazing tool. I think there's a lot of power for taking the expert out of the science.
Yeah,
What
I
do
like
you think on that?
I like the approach. I was talking to somebody just on Friday on a similar sort of thing, and I was showing some of Google's guidelines and just going out into the SERPs and showing, page 1 where these guidelines are violated all over the place. That these guidelines of things that you don't do or you're going to go to Google hell actually are best practices and correlate strongly with ranking. So they were like, well, why? And I said, well, that's a good question. Why Google has these guidelines. There's a lot of philosophical ideas and theories about, around the ideologies there. But, you can't debate looking in a SERP and saying, hey, this is here. It's not supposed to be. And it's not like most of the things there would be fairly simple to catch programmatically. You can't tell me that Google doesn't have an engineer that doesn't know how to program and catch, keyword stuffing or, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot regarding ChatGPT that I like an awful lot. I don't want to derail the whole show on that, but if you're still on the fence, if you think it's a big piece of crap and you're not going to learn it, I would strongly recommend you reconsider that, because even though all of the buzz feels like it's starting to die down, like the usefulness, the applications, the advantage that we're able to muster from it, it's pretty serious advantage. And like I often say, advantage isn't for everyone, but damn, advantage is for me. So if I can get ahead with the thing, boom, I'm getting ahead with it.
I take it all day, every day. That's kind of why it'll be fun to both go after, sort of the same keyword with some different ideas. It's not, and so people understand this is not all guns blazing. This is kind of just some basic strategies out of the box to see if we can learn something. It's not I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at mine and Ted's going to throw the kitchen sink at his, and afterward we're going
to don't mistake a minimum viable SEO showdown is a tough guy fight, because it's not. Minimum viable SEO is a sissy fight with lots of slapping. All right.
Okay, wait. I don't necessarily like this characterization a lot.
What kind of show is this?
Have you ever seen the Pillow Fight Club? It's a thing. It's real.
Minimum viable SEO is weak SEO. Like,
holy shit! Look at the subscriber numbers going down, Ted. People are
it is
SEO pillow fight is not going to be the thing,
but it is. When you do minimum viable SEO, you do the bare minimum to get to number 1, which makes you the weakest number 1 you could possibly be. You are not ranking with authority. You are ranking to be dethroned by any contender. And so minimum viable SEO is not strong SEO. So those are different things.
Terry says, welcome to SEO hissy fits,
Yes. So, well, but that's the thing. That's how you learn a thing, is you understand the domain and range of it, So if you understand the bare minimum to get to a point, that's the bare minimum to get to a point. So just know that in math, you work with domains and ranges, and SEO is the same way.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny.
It is, because you get these weird little things. I beat you by 2 positions. Yeah, but you did 60% more work to get 2 more positions. Nice work. It's like, and then we go and dissect and figure out how to combine those things to make it go even faster the next time. So
yep,
that's the
exactly.
fun.
All right, so we have a couple questions here. Have you tested just the press release? I haven't in a while. The understanding we've been working with for quite a long time is that the press release will amplify the relevancy that the page currently has. So if the page has weak on page, you're going to amplify a weak relevant page, then you're going to amplify a really strong relevancy signal. And so as a result, what we tend to see is that the better your on page is, the less off page you need to muster. And that's how we can get these efficiency, tie scores where 80 backlinks is as effective as 2,500 backlinks. And so that's all a difference in on page. So it's hard to, like, in a vacuum, test only the backlinks, because you do need some small amount of content. Like if your backlinks have no context, your anchor text has no context, and your pages have no context, then what the hell are you going to rank for? So something has to have a context. So we can't completely eliminate the content from the scenario. What do you think, Lee?
I agree 100%, man. I agree 100%. I think you handled it, very, very well there. I think that's kind of a lot of the things when you hear, press releases don't work, or you hear people, I love press releases, I use them all the time. I think that the distinguishing factor between those is, the what you described there. It's the relevance, the optimization of the page, the relevance of the press release, et cetera.
Yep. Let's see. One of my sites is slowly dying. I keep adding content, but traffic is getting lower and lower. I haven't breached out of topic. What should I check to find what is the issue?
More clusters.
Well,
Search console.
What's that?
More clusters.
What do you mean more clusters?
Like supporting content. See if there's anything that you can add to your main ranking pages to support that.
Before you start that, though, check Search Console and see why you have page decay
Or that too.
rate decay.
Or that.
I would do that first.
Yeah, I would look first for technical issues. I would look for link decay. Sometimes your press releases will roll out and you'll lose the backlinks. And then all you need to do is get a new press release and you're back in business. So see if you have any link loss in like one of the big backlink tools out there. I would also check for technical SEO issues. Are you serving up more errors than normal? Is Googlebot getting into parts of the page or parts of the site that it shouldn't be getting into? So check your web logs for what Googlebot is crawling, what they're doing on site. Because when you actually see it line by line as Googlebot crawls the site, you might be seeing Googlebot spending all its time adding and removing products from your shopping cart. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be crawling the categories, right? So if Googlebot's getting into something it shouldn't and then running out of budget, that's a big problem. But yeah, it sounds technical because when you have a relevancy problem, you don't slowly die. You're gone. So the fact that you're slowly dying, that link decay, crawling problems with Googlebot. Those are kind of slow death types of things. So I'd look for that type of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, Arneon Media says, and that's Derek. He says it's like golf. It's the lowest points and win. And so for minimum viable SEO, yeah, it is. It is like keeping score in golf.
Right.
Let's see. Honey says she would check internal linking and increase link building on every page. Yeah, that's a good step 2. I would look for SEO mistakes, but given that it ranked before and it's slowly dying, you know, I think that is a diagnostic clue to consider.
Maybe got caught up in an update, you know?
Well, you know, the weird thing,
updates tend to have that cliff, you know, thing more than a slow thing. You know, when you've got a leak, something's draining out of it, you know, and, you know, technical issues are certainly there, but, you know, the link decay is the one that I see most often for that. When you've got that slow decline and you look and say, hey, you know what, your links are slowly rolling off, or you've got a buildup of other links that you're not doing. You know, you can check those as well. You know, you may get some other things that are maybe changing the topic of your site without your knowledge. So little technical audits there can, you know, check a few things and you'll see those.
So we have a question here. How does Magic PR compare to Randy's PRs? Any objective differences? I believe there are, and Madge may have a different opinion on the matter, so we'll let him have his say too. I find that Magic PR, out of all the services, does the most when you feel you have a backlink quality problem. So if you've been targeted by spammy backlinks, or if you have, for whatever reasons, a quality issue with the backlinks you have, then I think Magic PR is kind of a silver bullet for that particular brand of SEO problem. And the reason being is he has a very high success rate on, you know, the Yahoo Finance and the Associated Press and those things. And those big authority news distributions, they're magical for quality issues. But not all websites have a backlink quality problem. Like, people often think, oh, I have no backlinks, so I'm low quality. No, not having backlinks isn't a quality problem. That's a you're new and you have no backlinks problem. So it's not that the backlinks you have are low quality, it's that they simply don't exist. And that's a different problem. And you don't necessarily need to be in the New York Times and Yahoo Finance and CNN because you have no backlinks. That's overkill. So, you know, keep in mind that, you know, for that type of problem, I think Magic PR kind of stands out above the rest. Historically, it may no longer be the case because I know a lot of these services change on the regular. Historically, Randy's service had the lowest single price option for a press release. So if you needed the lowest of cost to get something out the door, he had that. And then, like, what was that other one? What's the one you use again? It's slipping my mind.
Plus Advantage.
press advantage.
Yeah.
They in the past had the best bulk pricing because they had an infinite program for a while where you could sign up and get unlimited press releases if you write them yourself. So because of that in the past, they were the best bulk pricing if you were going to do an absolute ton of press releases. So now I'll let Madge come in and correct everything I've said.
No, I think you've put it very nicely. Yes, because I've always looked at quality when it comes to a PR. Okay, the traffic being one, the authority being the other, and how relevant these PRs, not only from a standpoint of getting indexed or getting crawled, but also how long do they stay within the index, okay? Because a lot of people complain, oh, Madge, we see some PRs, disappear after 3 to 6 months. And that's where I've managed to get contracts in place where minimum 12 months for these duration of a PR, right? I think that's more than enough time because within that time scale, you will end up doing another press release. But with the major publications, some of them, they're permanent links. And as long as you're building links to these assets, they will do you a lot better compared to not doing no tiered link building at all to them, right? So I don't like to compare myself to other PR services because I've always tried to be different from everyone else and try to change the game or try to change the inventory year by year or whatever we can do to make it better. And we take on a lot of feedback. And this is one of the reasons why I'm on your show, Ted, because whenever we get feedback, I like to take it on board and improve on it. Because we can't be perfect in everything, right? So I just try my best and offer a service that is good out there. So yeah.
Yep, and I use all three. I trust all three. I use all three of those services to money pages. And I don't do that with a lot of backlinking technologies. I typically will put in an intermediate page with most services. I don't do that with Magic PR. So, that's what it is. And I recommend that if you do a press release, really figure out and think about what is the problem we're trying to solve? What is it? What is the quantifiable thing that needs fixing? And how are we going to gauge if we've fixed it or not? Because if you understand that part of it, you'll probably get the right service, you'll get the right press release package, you'll have the right questions to ask when you're signing up. But you really have to think about, what is the thing we're trying to accomplish? What is the thing we're trying to fix? And even if you don't know the right choices and answers, if you can ask the right question, Madge or somebody else can help you get to the right choices. And so that's the important part, is understand your problem. All right.
That's a critical piece, using Madge, for example, as a resource, when you're getting ready to do that, say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Is this the best way what's the best way for me to go about it? Because he lives in that space. He's going to have more knowledge about different ways of accomplishing your goal than we are. So utilize that expertise.
Yeah, Terry Samuels says it depends what you do with the PR. And there's a lot of different beliefs and the, how do you tactically use it? I tend to go minimal. Like, I like my press releases to be on topic. I typically will only have one link on it. I like to run press releases to the inner page. I don't think the tree trunks need more. So I go to the inner page and I try to target the keyword the inner page is trying to rank for. Less is more in my book, because if you always do the least amount of off page you can to get to where you want to be, then it's kind of like you have, my feeling is you kind of have allowance for emergencies if you need it. But if you're going out there and regularly carpet bombing, then you may not have the allowance when you need it. And so I try to go minimal where I can, so it's lowest of money, lowest of time cost, safer. But then there's a reality: you have to do so much to get it to work, you have to do so much to maintain it. But I don't necessarily want to overspend every time. I think that's a bad practice. I think you want to find those cost-effective minimums. What do you think, Lee, on frequency?
I haven't tested a lot on the frequency. I do them, sort of on an as needed, because we see that they do move the needle. You see 3 to 4 weeks after the press release is out, you start to see movement in your page for your desired terms, and those kind of things are good. I think that there are a lot of different strategies out there, and there are a lot of different services that you can use for different things. If you just need a few referring domains, go get a cheap 100 package from somebody, and then you've got your problem solved. Because I think part of minimum viable SEO and efficient SEO is not just looking at how little can you get away with, but if I think that I can beat Ted, his site is ranking ahead of me, and I think I can beat him with 80 referring domains, I might go get 100, but I'm not going to build 2,500, because that's overkill. Because like he says, there's nothing left, and then if Ted does some other things and, eventually overtakes me again, I can always go build a few more links, or optimize a page a little bit more, build a few more little internal pages, or whatever else it needs, that is the most efficient step. So I don't have to, open up a nuclear war where, the option is 1 million links, 1 million pages, 1 million visitors a day on track. You don't want to play in that realm or force your competitors into that realm. So I like doing just enough to win.
Yeah, and you get this extra diagnostic value when you do that. Like when I use a minimum amount of off page to get to where I want to be, I'll get to like the top of page 1. But then when the link decay eventually happens, because that happens with press releases, I'll see my top of page 1 become a top of page 2. And it's kind of like this diagnostic drop. It's like, oh, what happened? Well, I'm not penalized. I'm still page 2. Something happened. What was the thing? Oh, it was link decay. And so I have this signal that when I go from page 1 to page 2, oh, press releases probably need it. So I could set up an alert system to say, hey, when a press release important page goes from page 1 to page 2, then it's time to look at doing another press release. And you could practically set up a subscription on that. If you wanted to innovate, you could have it so that whenever the rankings go to, a page below where they were prior for 3 days in a row, you issue a press release and off to the races. It could practically be a subscription service.
Well, the other thing that I like about what you just said there is the SEO diagnostic time required. You looked, hey, I dropped from here to here. Oh, I see link decay. Order a press release, and you're done. How much time did that take you to diagnose and solve the problem?
Oh, usually within the same day, because by the time the rankings change, you usually can see that link decay in other areas, like on Ahrefs. Because you're dealing with a slow system. So Google had to discover that you lost links, and that's a slow process for Google. So that gives the link building tools time to also discover you lost links. And so by the time the event happens, you can typically look it up and see why. Let's see what else here. I think that's all we got on questions. So with that, I think we will call it a show early, just a short 45-minute one. So we have somebody coming next week, right? Is it Charles? What's Charles going to talk about?
He has some field observations that are pretty interesting on some things that he's witnessed by doing a little log analysis and a few things like that. So I think he's going to join and share some of those field observations that are easier to see when you've got a large site like the sites that he works on, but are still applicable to the littler sites that the rest of us work on.
Nice. That'll be cool. So some data to look at and to ponder and to debate about. I like it. Let's see. We got another question came in here. How do your press release strategies differ from each other? Talking about the timing of the press release, on-page SEO, building links to the PR, etc. Lee and I actually differ quite a bit on this aspect. I go light on the SEO tuning on the press release because I don't want to compete with it. And I don't want to signal to my competition that a press release is a great idea. So I want to get some topical relevance, but I don't want it to be optimized topical relevance. And I know that weakens what I'm doing, but it also makes it less sketchy. I don't do any of the embeds and Google stacking and all the SEO add-ons and whistles and bells. I prefer to not get those. The main reason I don't get those isn't because they don't work. I totally believe they add power to the situation. But I think the places you distribute the press release to, they get creeped out by all that SEO stuff, and they want to prune that shit off their website as quickly as possible. So when I hear stories about press releases only lasting 3 or 4 months, I typically suspect and anecdotally hear similar that they've done those types of optimizations, put lots of links in it, all of that type of stuff. When I do a simple press release, just text, just a single link, that's it. I see about 12 to 18 months of value out from them. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing while I'm getting that kind of value out of press releases. And so I think having it look more trustworthy, having it be more basic, I think that helps the longevity of the value. I do like strategies of putting your distribution list into indexing tools to make sure that the distribution gets discovered by Google. I do like the idea of very light link building to the press releases. If you go heavy, you might also kill the press release too, because people might view that as a negative SEO campaign. So you don't want to X-rumor or GSA blast your press release distribution list. I think that would cause a problem. But Lee, you go a lot more aggressive, and I know that Terry Samuels, if he was on here, he goes way more aggressive. But
so yeah, to paraphrase the classic Saturday Night Live line, Ted, you ignorant slut. Here's the thing. It is, there are a few minor differences, actually. Most of the time in a press release, I will use one link as well. I will optimize my press release to rank, but most of the time they don't in a competitive SERP, because, press release is a single page optimized for a term, whereas, you've got entire websites devoted to optimization for, sterling silver amethyst bracelets. So you're probably not going to keep a press release on page 1 for any sort of reasonable term for any length of time. I also know from just watching this for years that SEOs are largely lazy. They're not going to go check the optimization of your press release. So, for the one or two people that might do it, there are thousands of others that won't even look to see that you have backlinks. So, I'm not afraid of those things. I am experimenting around with different link building or stacking methodologies just to see what I can see coming out of those. I know that Terry Samuels has a very extensive stacking process that he uses and swears by. But I don't know, to what degree those are effective yet, because it's still fairly early in doing that. And I'm not going to, release 4 press releases in a week to stack them and see what happens. It's just
and keep
silly.
in mind, there's multiple dimensions of effective. Like it could be totally powerful at ranking stuff, but it may kill your profit margin to do it.
Yes.
So you got to be mindful of the multiple dimensions at play.
And what I enjoy about this is, we talk about the different uses of strategies and sort of, borrow and test and, manipulate these sort of things. And it always comes back to the same thing. We know that there's multiple ways to rank a website. Your press release strategy works. My press release strategy works. Other people's press release strategy works. So, it's not bad. It's not that my way is better than yours or vice versa. They're just, built to achieve maybe something different or built on a different philosophy. It might be fun. I think that might be part of the fun of putting these websites head to head, is maybe if we think about it, we might be able to test a couple of different strategies and learn a little bit about the differences in the performance of the strategy, as well as the difficulty of the keyword.
Now, somebody's asking, can you recommend a cheap PR syndication outfit that lets you submit your own PR, perhaps under $100? And I can think of 2. I think that 38 Digital Market has like a $98 bare bones, very minimal offering.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that pricing is still accurate or not. It's been a while, so you'd have to go look and check.
Yeah, my last test was using Web 20. I don't know if you remember me posting in the core group. My last test when I did 15 sites with just links was using their PR, their do follow, and they charge like $97.
But the other hidden perk that not many people know about is that if you take Lee's training, one of the perks of Lee's training is Lee has that unlimited package I spoke about earlier. What do you guys charge your mastermind people for sending press releases?
Plus. Yeah, it's under $100. It's under $100. And the other thing is that we write them, so we make sure that they're optimized, Ted. They're optimized.
So yeah, but you have to take Lee's tested SEO training to get that special offer. That's one of the perks, is Lee will write and distribute press releases for you as a part of that program.
And if you write it, it's cheaper than that. Honey's telling me that it's cheaper than that if you write it yourself. But, it's got to pass, because if you don't follow the rules and she has to go through and, resubmit, you get charged every time for that. Because if you can't follow the rules, we're not going to do that for cheap for people that read the instructions.
But there you go. You have multiple avenues.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't forget though that if you're looking at all these services and you're trying to figure out what to do, the most important thing is it a trusted brand? Is it gonna do harm to the place you're trying to rank? Because at a bare minimum, you just want to be in a place where you trust where you're getting these referring domains from. And so I would strongly recommend that if you've never worked with press releases, get some references from people you trust on trustworthy services. and then test them out. Try them in a safe place before you test them on a client.
So here's what's interesting, and I've had, conversations with a few people on this, but, Madge, there's a lot of different networks that you can buy, as part of your, the networks that you have. And there's some networks that are large, but shitty. And there are some networks that are small, and maybe they're expensive and stuff like that. So you going through and saying, I want these networks, in my package, in the packages that I offer, there's a lot of similarity among the top dogs in terms of some of the networks and distribution networks that they have.
Mhm.
But you could go significantly cheaper, for a wider distribution. Why do you avoid that end of the press release world?
So with the major distributors in the US, right?
Mhm.
There's only so many major players out there, and the cheaper ones, these, you're speaking about the $99 packages and so forth. A lot of those are API-driven PRs, and a lot of those, this is the ones I've this year got rid of, or starting of this year. The reason being is they weren't getting crawled, let alone being indexed, and you're only getting, so if you're receiving from $99 package 300-400 links, you'll be lucky to see 5 or 10% indexed in Google, or even crawled in Google. Okay. Because that part's very important. So I decide, with me, yes, my pricing is slightly more expensive. I understand that, but I'm trying to offer you the premium size. Get rid of the APIs, get stuff that will actually move the needle.
Right.
Not stuff that's just gonna look so pretty on a report. Oh, look, we've got 500 links, but what do those 500 links do for you? Not a lot, right? So providing value for the price, that's the end goal for me. And a lot of these API stuff, you can go to AB Newswire. It was one of the first distributors I ever went to. They're very cheap and cheerful, but do they do anything? Back in the day, 2018, they did. Right now, no, they don't move the needle at all. So with time, you've got to change, right? And again, what Ted said, look at what you're trying to move and see what inventory will work for you. So in my honest opinion, it doesn't need to be the top package. The middle package that I have, or even one of the competitors may have, will move the needle for you. Now, using different distributors is a good thing because you're using different inventory. But try to stay away from the cheap and cheerful stuff, in my opinion. I don't think it works at all. Yeah.
And that's what we've heard a lot of times, people sit there and say, I bought a press release package. I got, 800 links for $50 or whatever. And they're like, but I didn't see anything. And I'm like,
but the other thing, Lee, what they're doing is they're adding a lot of PBNs into the mix, their own PBNs. And when you do your due diligence on those sites and you're thinking, okay, these are PBNs, they've got hardly any power, any traffic, they've decided them to the list. So you want to stay away from that. That's where you've got to do your checks, and you've got to ask your friends who have used PR services in the past and see, do they trust these individuals? Is it worth using these guys or not?
Yeah, I think the thing you're looking for from a referral is, how many of the SEOs do you know use this service regularly? Like, that is like the number one thing to look for is, oh, I have a lot of agency contacts and they go through Magic PR. They go through this guy. They go through that guy, and they do it every day, week after week, month after month. That's their go-to. And you start tallying up those things, and it's like, okay, those are probably the ones I should start with until I become more of an expert in this area. Because you want to go with things that have a reputation for not ending badly. And that's a very important thing. Because if you go pick a random one out there, let's say Holly's links, you might de-index a page. Now, there's nothing wrong with Holly's links. It's just you need to use an intermediate page. She'll be the first one to tell you.
Yeah.
Her network has a huge amount of power if used properly, but if you're not aware of that, if you're not at that expertise level yet, then you need to go somewhere safer. And so what I'm trying to say is, Magic PR is one of the safe ones. The other two we've mentioned here, they're safe. I use those three. I keep them in my pocket because I know they can be money site applied. And
Yeah,
I don't
there's always, I was going to say, there's always, if you look in different SEO groups, the conversations about press releases, there's the same 3, 4, 5 mentioned over and over and over and over. If you want to go try, Lucky Bob's Press Emporium because they've got a $29 special, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Simon White was mentioning that Press Advantage isn't truly unlimited. Well, yeah, and
That's 22.
they don't even offer that anymore. That was when they were new and shiny and bright-eyed and thought they could dominate the world. So unlimited. they don't sell unlimited anymore.
I snatched that package up quick.
Because
Can
SEOs love to abuse it. So yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you have to be careful about that, because there is, the potential for abuse. I'm not abusing it, but I'm using it, and I'm trying, even when I have things that I want to get creative on, I'll reach out to Jeremy and I'll say, hey, is this going to get you in trouble with your, distribution? Like if I said to you, Madge, I want to do a very Zen press release, just one word as anchor text. That's the entire press release. Can we do it? And you're like, no, my distribution will hate that, and I'll have problems to deal with. I'm like, all right, I won't submit it. So,
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of the distributors have become a lot strict now. The reason being is SEO's got away with a lot over the years, right? And me, including myself, we've tried so many, getting affiliate sites approved in PRs and so forth. Your PR story, to get it onto the major publications, you've got to make sure the story is newsworthy enough for them to say, because they'll skim through it. As long as the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of a PR are newsworthy, they'll accept it. They don't read word for word. You just got to make sure the story is good enough for these major players to say yes to. Right. And this is where the $99 package I will go back on. The major players will never accept a $99 PR because it will be written cheap and cheerful. And that's not what you want.
Yeah. And Simon, I believe you that you have the unlimited. My point is that doesn't matter to everyone else because nobody else can get it.
Yeah,
And,
ever.
Even though it has a practicality limit on it and it's not truly unlimited, nobody else can get it who doesn't already have it. And so that's why it pays to know a guy, I guess, if you want to go through that channel. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us again, and we will see you next week. Sorry, we had a no-show from Chris. We'll have him on another day. I understand alarms don't go off, and that happens. Happened to me in the past, so I can't be too judgmental. But we will talk testing in 2 weeks, maybe. I'll try to reschedule with them. But next week we have Charles coming on. So check that out. Be sure to check out SEO Rockstars. That's going to be amazing this year. That's one of the events coming up. We also heard that the Semantic Mastery POFU Live event is moving to online only. So it's digital only. And I know that's sad for people who were going to attend in person. They had some sort of venue back out situation. But the good news on that is it's great for everyone overseas. So if you're in Australia and you want an event, the Semantic Mastery POFU Live event is going to be online. Holly's event is coming up, the Dark AI. So that's another interesting one. and spring training early next year. So check out spring training 2024. That'll be an amazing one. Any other events? Did I forget any?
Not that I can think of. I know there's some others that I know people are working on, but they haven't announced it, so I'm not going to out them.
Yeah, I'll try to make a slide next week with links and dates for all these upcoming events. But just know that you have options for seeing your favorite SEO personalities. And I'm working on some cool new content to present. So it's not going to be the same stuff I did last time. And so I'll be sure to put out some fear of missing out teasers on the topics.